Carlos Alcaraz departed Miami this Sunday in a state of utter exhaustion, claiming he had reached his limit. Shortly after, Jannik demolished Francis Tiafoe in just 47 minutes to secure his spot in the Final Four. Inquiries regarding Alcaraz's exit and the top ranking met a remarkably composed and humble response from the young Italian. He offered a reply so precise and calculated that every watching analyst immediately reached for their statistical charts again. With extreme poise, the world number 2 effectively declared his intention to seize the crown from the current leader. Moreover, the statistical data supporting his Jannik recent claims highlights the most severe threat Alcaraz has faced since initially reaching the sport's highest peak. Consider this pivotal figure, 1,990. That is the current point separation between Sinner and the top world ranking during the Miami tournament. Exactly 1,990. 6 weeks ago, the deficit was 3,150. Following Alcaraz's Sunday defeat against Korda, another 150 points simply evaporated. The margin shrinks as Sinner competes while Alcaraz retreats. This specific metric now defines the future of men's tennis. One must understand how these numbers translate once play shifts to the red clay. Alcaraz enters the clay swing as the Monte Carlo victor, instantly forfeiting 1,000 points when the draw starts. Before his first 2026 clay match, the gap potentially falls toward 990 depending on Miami results. A Miami title for Sinner would shrink the difference to just 190 points before Monte Carlo. 190. That is merely the value of winning a single quarterfinal match on tour. Last year's title provided those points, yet the world leader could fall before his first clay win this season. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. Mathematical reality now dictates the consequences of that third-round loss in Miami. Sinner knows the math but respects clay. It involves finding one's footing on the dirt, yet the competitive essence remains unchanged despite the shift in surface. He views the future with optimism, knowing that even early losses would still result in a net points gain. Claiming he has nothing to protect is perhaps the most brilliant psychological maneuver seen in the rankings race recently. His approach begins with a cold, calculated awareness of the current statistical landscape. He quickly shifts focus toward the surface's unpredictability, which often renders standard ranking models completely obsolete. He emphasizes a positive outlook, noting that any success adds to his total because he carries no previous points. Sinner articulated these 4 concepts flawlessly, avoiding both arrogance and false humility in his delivery. He grasps the math. Clay is different. The outlook is bright. His slate is clean. These 4 truths confirm he holds the supreme position heading into the clay swing, regardless of his Miami finish. The concept of having nothing to defend reveals why his quest for number 1 is statistically formidable. He was absent from the entire 2025 clay season following his suspension from professional play. Events in Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome, and the French Open lacked Sinner, leaving him with an entirely fresh start for the 2026 clay campaign. Every victory directly increases his standing. He is playing a form of purely additive, expansionist tennis. In contrast, Alcaraz is stuck playing defensive tennis. It is the psychological difference between an open road ahead and a rearview mirror filled with a closing rival. Alcaraz must guard 4,300 points on clay, including his previous title win in Monte Carlo. He also defends deep runs in Barcelona, Rome, and his massive victory at the French Open. Each tournament brings intense pressure to replicate past perfection just to maintain his current ranking position. Falling in a quarterfinal or semifinal results in a loss. Only another title preserves his current point total. Sinner risks almost nothing until Rome, defending a mere 1,850 points in total. The massive gap between their defensive requirements creates a fundamentally lopsided psychological battle for the top spot. This surge of momentum constitutes the secondary analytical layer, proving Sinner is actually the true favorite, despite what the current leaderboard might imply. Boasting a 14-2 record this season, he conquered Indian Wells without surrendering a single set. Over those 14 days, he dismantled titans, including Djokovic, Zverev, Fritz, and Medvedev. Charging into the Miami semifinals, he crushed Tiafoe in 47 minutes, silencing a partisan crowd with his most authoritative and clinical performance of the entire year. He remains flawless in Miami, having avoided both dropping a set and entering a single tiebreak. The engine isn't merely warming up, it is redlining, while Alcaraz left Florida admitting he desperately needed a total system reboot. That raw honesty highlights the starkly different trajectories these two rivals are currently riding toward the clay season. One requires a complete mental recharge, whereas Sinner is already operating at peak frequency. These two athletes are approaching Monte Carlo from opposite psychological poles, meaning they are not sharing the same starting line. Sinner arrives fueled by momentum that has been surging since his triumph in Paris last November. Alcaraz sought refuge at home with his mother's cooking and the simplicity of being Carlitos. That reset usually pays dividends. While a recharge is powerful, momentum is a different beast, and it usually burns hotter when the clay season ignites. Critics often overlook his clay potential, yet the underlying data supports Sinner's case with undeniable and persistent force. Alcaraz holds 11 clay trophies and maintains a staggering career winning percentage of 85% on the surface. Sinner possesses only one clay title and a win rate of 74% on the red dirt. On paper, those statistics clearly define Alcaraz as the superior force on this specific surface. However, those raw numbers fail to capture the massive evolution Sinner has undergone on clay recently. In 2024, he reached the Final Four in Rome and Paris, marking his most successful runs at those events. By 2025, he replicated those deep semifinal runs before falling to Alcaraz in a grueling battle at Roland Garros. He similarly succumbed to Alcaraz during the penultimate round in the Italian capital. His improvement on the dirt is both real and consistent, even if his trophy cabinet only lists one clay accolade. That victory came at the 2022 Croatia Open against an opponent who had not yet reached world number 1. The 2026 clay swing offers the perfect, pressure-free environment for him to finally bridge the gap between his talent and his titles. The Italian's perspective on the road ahead echoes a deeper narrative. His comparison to Formula One racing provides a unique dimension to his story that traditional tennis analysis frequently ignores. He is a dedicated enthusiast and friend of the Formula One paddock. He was even given the honor of waving the checkered flag at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He celebrated Kimi Antonelli's Shanghai victory by signing the camera, having previously honed his skills alongside the driver in advanced racing simulators. The metaphor he used during his Miami press conference was particularly revealing. Likening clay tactics to memorizing a racetrack reveals a mind that uses the precise vocabulary of motorsport to describe professional preparation. He has already memorized the curves of every upcoming track. The actual race through Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome toward Paris will be far more demanding than any simulation. He is about to discover exactly how much the real dirt differs from the theoretical model. Preliminary statistics suggest the upcoming race might actually be tipped in his favor. The potential ranking shift at Monte Carlo is worth analyzing because these specific numbers are incredibly compelling. If Sinner triumphs in Miami, he will sit just 190 points behind Alcaraz. Alcaraz automatically loses 1,000 points as the defending champion, giving Sinner a virtual lead of 910 points. Should Sinner then advance to the quarterfinals in Monte Carlo, gaining 180 points, and Alcaraz falters in the opening round, Sinner would reclaim the world number 1 spot for the first time since January. A first-round exit is possible. Alcaraz has already suffered such setbacks during 2026. While not guaranteed or even probable, this takeover is more realistic now than it has been since November. This opportunity exists because of one Sunday in Miami, when Korda secured a break and shifted the entire narrative. Sinner claimed that every upcoming challenge is a positive one, and his Miami results proved him right. He is likely correct about the clay season as well. The points are there for the taking. He has 0 points to defend, and a clear tactical map for the entirely different challenges of the dirt. Within 6 weeks at Roland Garros, we will know if the hierarchy defining 2026 has finally been overthrown. Nothing captures Sinner's current posture better than a spontaneous moment during his victory speech at Indian Wells. Having secured the title, he immediately shifted focus to Kimi Antonelli's win at the Chinese Grand Prix. He traded his personal season peak to celebrate the crowning achievement of another athlete. That gesture's unique mental clarity? The effortless way he shifted the gaze of 20,000 people from his personal triumph to another 20-year-old Italian's achievement across the globe illustrates a mind entirely unconsumed by ranking shifts, media narratives, or the noise of the outside world. He plays for himself only. He has consistently maintained this stance in various ways since the opening of the season, competing for yourself rather than fighting the burden of a top seed or the surrounding. Noise regarding your defeats is the exact mindset that the clay courts reward most frequently. Alcaraz shared a similar sentiment in Miami, stating his goal was to play for himself and those closest to him. He mentioned this during a mid-match break and repeated it to the press after his eventual loss. The distinction is that Sinner requires no mental reboot, as he has lived this principle since January. For Alcaraz, the philosophy had to be reclaimed during a desperate third-set struggle in a third-round exit. Both athletes will enter Monte Carlo, embracing this psychological approach. One of them, however, has maintained it without any lapse. The broader narrative of men's tennis entering the spring is of two titans meeting on this vital terrain in radically different mental conditions for the first time in 2026. Sinner claimed Indian Wells, reached Miami's final, and possesses momentum with absolutely 0 points to defend. He holds a tranquil understanding of the math and a quiet confidence about the clay, an awareness born of deep preparation. Alcaraz has retreated home. He will regroup and return as the reigning champion and the most formidable clay court talent of his era. He will show up in Monaco with every expectation of winning. Sinner arrives knowing the math, knowing the gap, and realizing he only has room to gain from here. The chase officially ignites April 6th, Monte Carlo. On that first initial dirt court, the current ranking gap of 1,990 points will look very different. While the exact margin depends on Miami, the final destination of this journey is already obvious. It became clear when Korda broke Alcaraz late in the third set, causing the standings to tighten immediately. Sinner understands every scenario, he always has. The historical comparison that frames Sinner's hunt is the one between this season and Djokovic's 2011 pursuit, when he closed in on Nadal's top ranking throughout the spring. Djokovic arrived at the 2011 clay swing, having secured the Australian Open and every Masters title, launching a streak that reached 41 wins. Nadal was defending titles on every clay court. This imbalance between the hunter's attack and the champion's defense triggered the sport's most massive ranking shift. It happened because the points available during the clay swing are so dense that every overachievement or failure by the leaders alters the gap significantly. Sinner isn't riding a 41-match winning streak. Yet the structural similarity between his path and Djokovic's past is the comparison the data supports most. The hunter with zero baggage versus the king with everything to lose. In 2011, the hunter won. The final result for 2026 depends on the stretch from Monte Carlo to Paris. One variable no equation can solve, one Sinner himself noted, is the unpredictable nature of the clay surface itself. Clay remains the one arena where the gap between Alcaraz's dominance and Sinner's record is most apparent. Alcaraz has won more clay titles, winning major tournaments, and 2 French Opens, including last year's 5-set epic where he survived 3 match points. By all available evidence, he is the superior clay specialist, regardless of what the ranking numbers say. What the math changes is the pressure of being the best when you are defending instead of attacking. Skill matters immensely when the margin for keeping your ranking at the top is razor thin. Carlos Alcaraz enters a cutthroat gauntlet from Monte Carlo to Rome, where only perfection can safeguard his crumbling hold on the top spot. His advantage has shriveled to its thinnest margin since he first ascended the rankings, leaving no room for a single stumble. Sinner needs no clay expertise to finally bridge this narrow divide. He just needs durability and focus, while Alcaraz braves the most point-dense 6-week stretch of his professional life. He grasps the looming stakes. His quiet confidence is the most telling omen for the 2026 clay swing, signaling who will arrive at Roland Garros ready to conquer. While Alcaraz is the king of dirt, Sinner occupies the stronger tactical ground. Their collision begins this April 6th. Will Sinner reclaim the throne eventually? And when exactly do you foresee this changing of the guard? Leave a comment below, then subscribe and activate notifications so you never miss a vital update. Stay tuned for pro tennis news.